Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. In the quiet town of Maplewood, the chirping of crickets serenaded the long summer evenings, blending seamlessly with the hum of distant traffic. With a population just shy of 10,000, Maplewood was the kind of place where everyone knew each other's name and each other's secrets. Yet, beneath its veneer of suburban charm lay a darkness that few could have predicted. On the evening of June 12, 2019, the community was rocked by a single, unsettling event that would forever alter its tranquil facade. Julie Collins, a beloved elementary school teacher known for her infectious laughter and nurturing spirit, did not return home from the faculty dinner at the local diner. Her husband, Mark, paced the length of their modest living room as the clock ticked ominously. Each chime a reminder of her absence. The scent of freshly cut grass wafted through the living room window, juxtaposing the tension that hung in the air. Mark's phone buzzed relentlessly, a flurry of missed texts and calls. Neighbors dropped by, their faces painted with worry, although none could pierce the thick blanket of dread wrapped around his chest. As darkness settled, fear sprouted like weeds in the corners of his mind. When the hours wore on, without a word from Julie, Mark dialed 911. She wouldn't just leave, he insisted to the calm voice on the other end, a mix of desperation and disbelief. As the call ended, the shadows of Maplewood seemed to deepen, the streets growing eerily silent as the search for Julie began, a search that would uncover secrets layered beneath the town's surface. The victim. Julie Collins was the kind of person who made others feel seen. With vibrant red hair that danced in the soft summer breeze and a smile that could lighten even the darkest of days, she brought joy into the lives around her. From organizing bake sales to volunteering at the animal shelter, she poured her heart into her community. But beneath her effervescent exterior lay the complexities of a woman navigating both personal trials and triumph. As the police began their inquiries, they painted a portrait of a devoted wife and a fiercely dedicated educator. Colleagues described her as a vibrant presence in the staff room, one who could turn mundane discussions into laughter. Her students adored her, often flocking to her with their thoughts and fears, seeking her advice as though she were a second mother. Yet, there were whisper-shush tones from the parents' side of the school fence. Some remembered a recent complaint about a late-night gathering at a friend's house, yet typical social affair, possibly encompassing too much wine and too many secrets. Others recalled a discouraging encounter with another teacher over a shared grant for educational materials, hinting at competition and rivalry. While the community rallied together, the police were driven by something deeper. This cherished spirit had been touched by shadows of discontent. Julie had shared her dreams with those closest to her aspirations, extending to writing children's books, something she often daydreamed about. They learned from her friends that she expressed feeling overwhelmed recently, her workload stretching into late nights and early mornings. As the search progressed, officers knotted the details into a chilling tapestry of uncertainty. What cataclysmic event could have snuffed out the light in Julie's life? And who would dare to cast the first stone? The crime scene. As dawn broke over Maplewood, the sun cast an almost haunting glow onto the dewy grass. But the warmth of the morning could not dissolve the chill that settled in the hearts of those who had begun to search for Julie. Just after sunrise, an abandoned trail near the outskirts of town became the focus of the search effort. Officers arrived at the site, a tangled mosaic of trees and underbrush. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine, creating a serene facade that belied the tension underlying the scene. Volunteers from the community stood at the edge of the trail, the murmurs of worried conversation swirling above the rustle of leaves. As detectives surveyed the area, the sharp crack of a twig underfoot drew their attention to a clearing. It was there, amidst a thicket of brambles, that they found Julie's belongings: a light cardigan, her small, elegant silver locket containing a picture of Mark, and a blue notebook filled with sketches and scribbles of story ideas for her children. Books. The air thickened with a sense of warning. They were stepping into something far more serious than they had anticipated. Further investigation revealed darker elements intertwined with her disappearance. Not far from her belongings, officers found a shallow grave obscured by fallen leaves. A soft gasp escaped the lips of one of the officers, and unsettling recognition loomed. Footprints, the size of a man's shoe, fled the scene, leading deeper into the woods. Forensics technicians combed the area, their gloved hands brushing against the earth. The search transitioned from a hopeful rescue to a more somber quest for clues, a search for remnants of the vibrant life that had been tragically uprooted. It became clear that the town would not only be unearthing answers about Julie's whereabouts, but they would soon unmask the mystery lurking within their own corner of the world. The beauty of Maplewood had become the backdrop for a haunting truth, one that would reverberate through the lives of its inhabitants for years to come. The early investigation. The quiet resolve that had initially enveloped Maplewood began to fracture, replaced by a tempest of speculation and fear. Julie Collins's disappearance was no longer a mystery solely for her husband and family. It had become a matter for the entire town. As her picture plastered the local news and social media feeds, the police initiated a methodical investigation, marking the first steps into a chaotic descent. Detective Sam Rodriguez, a seasoned officer with a cool demeanor, was assigned to the case. He knew that every detail, however small, could be a potential break. His first priority was to canvass the area surrounding the trail where Julie's belongings had been found. Witnesses were interviewed, starting with Mark, who recounted their last evening together. His face was pale, eyes weary from sleepless nights. "We were having a normal evening," he said, his sentence unraveling. She was excited about a story she was working on. His voice broke what dreams could turn into darkness. As the investigation progressed, it became evident that Maplewood held secrets that were beginning to surface, whispers and rumors bubbling to the forefront. Investigators spoke with Julie's closest friends, who disclosed that she had recently received unnerving messages from an unknown number, cryptic notes that hinted at a personal struggle, although the details remained elusive. "She didn't want to worry us," one friend admitted, her voice trembling. "But we could tell something was off." Meanwhile, the townsfolk, buoyed by their tight-knit relationships, formed neighborhood watch groups, their shared concern morphing into a sense of urgency. They scoured familiar territory spots, abandoned buildings, and forest, searching for any sign of Julie, or worse yet, any clue to the darkness that had emerged around her. As the days turned into frantic searches and late-night discussions, the detectives continued to sift through every scrap of information, racing against time. With an innocent face now encircled by mystery and fear, the name Julie Collins began to carry an unsettling weight, one that would anchor itself into the hearts and minds of everyone in Maplewood, entrenching them in a web of unresolved questions. The dead ends. Days stretched into a week since Julie Collins had vanished, and with each sunrise, the flicker of hope dimmed just a little more. Detective Sam Rodriguez and his partner, Officer Kelly Green, found themselves swamped by tips pouring in from the community, a thread that could lead to the truth. Yet, as they followed the trails, like intricate webs spun from promises, far too many led directly to dead ends. One early afternoon, they visited the home of a man named Thomas Gray, a former student of Julie's who had been reported as acting paranoid in recent weeks. His arms were tattooed with erratic swirls, a living canvas reflecting a chaotic world. Thomas seemed evasive, his eyes darting to the corners of the room as he fidgeted with a weathered baseball cap. He laughed nervously when asked about his last interactions with Julie, suddenly veering into tales of her influence on his life unexpectedly. While his stories painted him as a troubled soul inspired by her warmth, nothing concrete emerged, and the detectives left with lingering questions. Another lead took them to an unkempt apartment in a neighboring town, where a woman named Linda, a supposed friend of Julie's, had frequented the local pub. Frigid air seeped through the cracked window panes as they found Linda slumped on a couch, the remnants of a drink pooling at her side. Her memories of Julie were fragmented, filled with vague references to late-night chats that hinted at dissatisfaction but provided no clue. Instead, the confessions seemed to drift deeper into casual gossip, rehearsed like a play, leaving them searching for the truth that felt just out of reach. As the investigation seemed to stall, Detective Rodriguez felt a gnawing frustration penetrate his usually steady demeanor. He had once promised himself a sense of vigilance in all things this chase, felt increasingly like a ghost pursuing shadows. With each errant call and tip that led to nowhere, the haunting questions multiplied. With the town's collective gaze focused on the detectives, the burden of revealing the truth weighed heavier than ever. In the shift from hope to helplessness, the two officers faced a painful realization. Sometimes, the answers lay buried too deep beneath the surface, and when time became an adversary, despair curled like smoke around them, threatening to suffocate their resolve. A break in the case. In the dim light of a cloudy Wednesday afternoon, an unexpected phone call broke the monotony of the investigation's stagnation. The air was thick with tension as Detective Sam Rodriguez held the receiver to his ear, his heart racing with cautious optimism. A local fisherman, out on the outskirts of Maplewood, had reported something unusual. A deep red scarf snagged on a branch near the water's edge. Within minutes, Rodriguez and Officer Kelly Green arrived at the scene, the hum of the river intertwining with their pounding hearts. Autumn leaves floated lazily downstream, contrasting sharply with the vivid crimson of the fabric fluttering from a twisted limb. With steady hands, Rodriguez retrieved the scarf, holding it up to the dim light. A sickening chill ran down his spine. He recognized it immediately. It belonged to Julie. With renewed urgency, the search teams were mobilized to comb the surrounding area. The evidence had revived the dwindling spirits of the community, and for a moment, hope flickered to life like a candle in the dark. With forensic teams dispatched, each minute brought a wave of possibilities. Was Julie still alive? What had transpired so close to a place that seemed so innocuous? As investigators meticulously gathered evidence, inklings of further clarity emerged. Nearby, a solitary footprint was found imprinted in the damp earth, much larger than Julie's petite size. Small twigs and fragments of unrecognizable fabric, likely torn from someone's clothing, accumulated as they widened their search area. Each find added weight to the airy possibility that the structure of the case was finally shifting. Rodriguez removed himself briefly from the unfolding scene to call Mark Collins. His heart pounded as he composed his words with care. "We found something. But we need to be cautious. A scarf was identified as belonging to Julie." He felt the sharp intake of Mark's breath and braced himself for the silence that followed. While the ominous uncertainty lingered, the urgency in Maplewood's air took hold, transforming the rhythm of the case. The town, once previously paralyzed by fear, rallied together in shared determination. With each sliver of evidence illuminating the path ahead, Rodriguez felt the resolve that had once dipped into despair, beginning to fill the spaces left behind. Finally, they were peeling back the layers of darkness that had shrouded Maplewood, inching closer to the heart of a mystery that felt both fragile and dangerous. The suspect. In the wake of the discovery of Julie's scarf, Detective Sam Rodriguez and Officer Kelly Green sifted through the newly acquired evidence. Each piece seemed to congeal into a clearer narrative, leading them towards the most difficult part of the investigation: identifying a suspect. With the community still buzzing with hope, it became apparent that unease rippled through the town like a misguided undertow. As the days passed, suspicions began to converge around a figure who had lingered in the background of the investigation: Aaron Griggs, a former classmate of Julie. A once promising musician turned reclusive, Aaron had a reputation for erratic behavior. Frequent confrontations with locals over minor grievances had earned him a spot on law enforcement's radar. Yet he had never crossed the line into criminality till now. Detectives unearthed a series of unsettling incidents leading up to Julie's disappearance. He had been observed near the school during late hours in the weeks prior, often lurking around the playground and engaging in heated discussions with players in an otherwise idle game of pickup basketball. His long hair and shrouded demeanor gave him an almost ghostly appearance, enhancing the air of discomfort that followed him. As they confronted Aaron, the encounter felt like stepping into a fragile web. The air seemed unsteady, his twitchy demeanor betraying his calm exterior as he spoke. "I wasn't stalking her, okay? I was just around." His explanations twisted and turned, like autumn leaves caught in a windstorm, failing to provide any sense of clarity. Rodriguez pressed on, presenting the evidence, including the scarf. "What did you see that night? Were you near the trail?" Aaron's eyes widened, a flash of anger erupting that quickly morphed into panic. "I don't know what you think you're doing. Julie and we had talked before, but I never heard her." His protestations felt thin, like a leaf hundreds of miles from its branch. Though Aaron was not under arrest, he had become the focal point of suspicion. A wave of adrenaline surged through Rodriguez. They didn't have enough yet, but the tendrils of the investigation coiled tighter around Aaron's past. As the detectives stepped out into the crisp evening air, the weight of uncertainty hung heavily above them. They knew they now needed to dive deeper into Aaron's life, every whisper, every detail a precarious balance, until the truth could finally be unraveled. The trial. Weeks melted into months, with Maplewood holding its collective breath as investigators pieced together a narrative surrounding the mysterious disappearance of Julie Collins. The culmination of evidence forged an unsteady path to the courtroom, where the trial of Aaron Griggs was set to unfold. Anticipation clawed at the hearts of the townsfolk, each face reflecting a multitude of fears. Would justice emerge from the shadows? The courthouse, a stately brick building crowned with a bell tower, became the crucible for truth as the townspeople gathered, filling the pews with anxious murmurs and measured glances. Dressed in a crisp navy suit that seemed to obscure his true self, Aaron entered the courtroom with an expression akin to resignation. Defense attorney Mary Callahan, known for her tenacity, brushed aside the charges with practiced ease. Her voice strived to create doubt, drawing on the whispers of Aaron's troubled past as mere shadows rather than substantial links to the case. The prosecution, led by Assistant District Attorney Michelle Thompson, stood resolute, honing in on the latest evidence, the details of Julie's scarf found near the river, and Aaron's known presence. At the scene, witnesses were called, their testimonies painting a picture that began to fill in the fractured puzzle. Several neighbors recounted erratic behavior, their voices trembling as they shared moments of confrontation with Aaron. Instances that mirrored the underlying currents of fear that coursed through the community. Rodriguez sat quietly in the back, eyes fixated on the trial as the room increasingly brimmed with tension. Each retelling clawed at his heart. These were not just testimonies. They were echoes of a life violently halted, a community seeking solace now wrapped in uncertainty. The room fell silent in anticipation when Julie's sister took the stand. With glistening eyes, she spoke of her sister's vibrant spirit and how her sudden disappearance had cast a pall over their family. Her words, weighed down by a grief that none could ignore. As the trial unfolded, cracks formed in Aaron's narrative, his defense slowly unraveling under the weight of mounting evidence. He remained outwardly calm, but Rodriguez caught the flicker of panic in the depths of his eyes when a forensic expert took the stand, detailing fibers discovered at the scene that matched Aaron's clothing, an indication that he had been there. But it was a subtle revelation, a minor slip during the testimony of a close friend of Aaron's, that broke the tension like glass shattering. He mentioned something strange that night, something about a fight the friend confessed, hesitating, before ultimately detailing a disturbing conversation about jealousy and vague threats. The hairs on the back of Rodriguez's neck stood up. It was the defining moment. As closing statements were made, the courtroom simmered with an electric tension. Rodriguez's heart raced with a mixture of dread and anticipation, knowing the verdict would reverberate through Maplewood. When the jury returned with their decision, a suffocating silence settled over the room. Every heartbeat synchronized in a shared moment of hope and anxiety. The gavel slammed down, and with it, the weight of the community's effort culminated in one resounding word: guilt. In that moment, justice lingered at the threshold, their collective breath finally released in a wave of bittersweet relief. But the loss felt irreparably, an unhealed wound etched permanently into the fabric of their lives. The aftermath. The gavel's sound reverberated through the courtroom, a final punctuation mark on a chapter fraught with grief and uncertainty. Aaron Griggs faced sentencing, yet the echoes of Julie Collins' absence seemed to resonate much deeper within the hearts of Maplewood's residents. As the community departed the courthouse, each carried the weight of unresolved sorrow, the aftermath pressing heavily upon their shoulders. The weeks following the trial transformed the town. Once a vibrant tapestry woven from shared lives and familiar faces, Maplewood felt like a fragmented puzzle connection, strained and memories tainted by the shadow of a crime that had fractured the very foundation of their life. In the days that followed, candlelight vigils were held in Julie's honor, overflowing with candles set against the backdrop of the quiet park. Her friends and family gathered to remember her laughter, her kindness, everything the community had lost. Detectives Rodriguez and Green remained vigilant in the aftermath, tasked with rebuilding trust in a town that had come to know fear intimately. Rumors lingered in hushed tones. People often exchanged wary glances, uncertain of how to move forward. Was this darkness gone for good, or did it linger, waiting to strike again? In an effort to reclaim a sense of normalcy, a petition began circulating around town, spearheaded by Julie's closest friends, to establish a scholarship in her name for budding artists and writers at the local elementary school. It became a tangible representation of her spirit, what she stood for, how she inspired countless young lives. In classrooms filled with bright-eyed children, teachers instilled the importance of kindness, creativity, and resilience, ensuring Julie's light would flicker onward even in her absence. But as time wore on, resentment and frustration bled into the edges of the community, surfacing in unexpected ways. Some residents pointed fingers at the authorities, lamenting the missteps along the way that fueled anxiety. How could this happen in our town? Echoed through living rooms and coffee shops, mingling with the clamoring of cups and conspiracies about unspoken truths buried beneath the surface. Detective Rodriguez felt the weight of the public scrutiny. The flame of injustice still smoldered around him. He took long, solitary walks through the woods where Julie's belongings had been found, grappling with the reality that while they had secured a conviction, the scars inflicted on the town would take much longer to heal. The whisper of the wind through the trees felt almost like a call to action, urging him to remain steadfast. In the heart of Maplewood, a silent pact began to form resilience and unity. Each evening, neighbors gathered in parks, their conversations more genuine and heartfelt, weaving a newfound strength amidst the shadows. Slowly, the community emerged from its cocoon of despair, each step towards healing a testament to Julie's enduring spirit. As they began rebuilding their narrative, it became clear. While the memories of loss may never fully dissipate, together, they could forge a future illuminated by the lessons learned, transforming tragedy into a defiant testament of hope. Reflection. The season changed. Dawn arrives on Maplewood. The leaves transformed from vibrant greens into hues of gold and amber, reflecting the bittersweet nature of the community's journey. By now, a quiet resilience enveloped the town, a tapestry of fragments woven together, bound by shared experience and a collective resolve to find peace in the aftermath of loss. Detective Sam Rodriguez often found himself standing at the edge of the river, the same waters that had captured the scarf, a poignant reminder of the life lost too soon. On quiet evenings, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and purple, he would reflect on the weight of the case. The moments of tension in the courtroom, the raw pain captured in Julie's sister's tear-stained face, and the palpable relief etched in the expressions of those around him. The echoes of that trial never fully left his thought. For the townsfolk, life slowly resumed its cadence. Each project charted a course for healing, offering glimmers of hope even in the face of grief. As Rodriguez walked the familiar streets, he noticed a shift in the air. Neighbors greeted him with smiles and nods, conversation flowing more freely. connected by their resilience and the realization of how fragile life can be. The scars would remain, but they also conveyed the strength to honor Julie's memory through acts of kindness, creativity, and compassion. In reflection, the journey through darkness had demanded courage. The raw, emotional shadows of loss transformed into a light that illuminated the path forward. And amid the pain, there lay newfound understanding, the importance of community, the bond of shared experience, and the undying light of hope that flickered eternally, even in the darkest of time.